very warm welcome back, and if you're just joining KTN News, this is Scoreline, a sports show that comes live to you every 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. and this is the second part of the show. The first part, of course, we focused on the Kenya Cup results. We also had a look at what is happening and what has made headlines throughout the week. On this second part, we continue speaking rugby, and in studio with me is Fred Odhiambo. I mean, like, sometimes I get a bit confused about, what's your real name, what's the nickname. But yeah, he is the Impala Director of Coaching. And do remember that Impala Saracen beat defending champions KCB to get to the finals of the Kenya Cup for this year. Congratulations for making it to the finals.
Thank you.
Yesterday's match, anything you would love to say about the match?
Well, I mean, it was like all the semi-finals. I mean, tight. I mean, there's nothing tighter than a 1-point lead. But I would say that we started really well. It's just we didn't close our chances. We dominated the territory. We dominated possession and all that. And there was that Minjire dropped ball over the try line and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, what would you love to say about your opponents? To many people, this was the best semi-final of the day.
Yeah. KCB is the defending champion. That you can never take away from them. They've had a bit of, a topsy-turvy changeover from last season. A number of players leaving, some of the players being in the national side and so on and so forth. But it's a club that has given birth to lots of other clubs. I mean, it has given birth to homeboys and had a strong influence in the growth of Cabras Sugar itself. KCB has had a lot of influx of players from the Western schools, usually the top players. So yes, I mean, every year they're as strong as can be. And even now, you can imagine, they will be in a semi-final even after all that. Yeah.
And now back to Impala. Last year we had KCB, of course, almost dominating the whole season. This year, Impala has been the most consistent team. Looking at last year and this year, probably what changed for Impala?
Impala's course has been brewing for a while. We had some really tough times after 2009 when we won. We were twice number 8, we were number 9, and then last year we were number 6. So it's really been a matter of consolidating things, but most importantly, it has been an intense preparation that has changed things. We took our pre-season very seriously, and obviously we have planned to minute detail almost every single match that we have taken. We have a number of very good mix of players, very young players, quite a number of them who are playing in the Kenya Under-19 just recently. We have a number of players that have been in the Kenya national setup for a long time. And really, I mean, it's been intense inside the club as we plan for this. We began our preparations last year in March. Our first training session for this season was on March 16th. And the whole idea of, the planning for the season began in March itself, and we concluded it in April. So it's been quite a road, and it's quite satisfying to see both teams, first and second team, in finals.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Impala are 10-time Kenya Cup champions, with now a possibility of winning the title for the 11th time. But yesterday, looking at the players after that semi-final, it's like they had won a final. How much does this mean to the players? Getting to the finals.
It wasn't really, it's a long journey, and that's what you need to understand from the environment and how the players are reacted. I think they've been happy at every win, and one of the things that we like to say is whether we win by 100 points like we once did in this season, or we win by 1 point,
yesterday.
It's exciting. It's why we do this. I mean, it's not really the semi-final only, but every single win is important. Just like we've been planning every single, match out there, and we've been saying we'll only live for this week, and very fortunately this week, the week that we are living for is for the cup. So that was important for everyone in the camp and in the club.
And the weather conditions yesterday, do you think probably they affected the kind of play and the rugby flow that could have been witnessed in that semi-final?
No, I'd like us to move away from this thinking that we have in the country that rugby can only be played when the conditions are dry. My team is known to be a dry surface specialist. We play very good rugby when it's dry. But
that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, but one of the things that we have agreed is that, you see, rugby is played everywhere in the world, and some of the conditions are not dry. So you notice that even for the national team and our players, whenever it is that the rain starts or it drizzles a bit or the conditions look muddy, all the rugby goes out of the window. We want to move away from that. We want to play rugby in all the conditions. We want to be able to play whenever a game is called. And there's been a big change in terms of attitude in the club. So they say, oh, look, I mean, if it's wet, we'll play. If it's dry, we'll play. And I think that's the big change. So I really can't hazard a guess what it would have looked like if it was dry. We certainly would have been happier with those sort of conditions because, I mean, of our long-running history. But we are enjoying playing in the cesspool as well now.
And now moving on from the semi-final. I mean, you're already in the final right now. You will be playing Cabras. In the Kenya Cup, you met them. You met twice. They beat you. No, you beat them in the first leg. The second leg, they revenged. What kind of a final do you expect against Cabras?
Well, I mean, this is going to be. You see, Cabras and Impala don't play very far, a very different type of rugby from each other. You'll find that Cabras has got a few heavy guys, and they've got a lot of players who have got X factors. But that's the same thing that you'll find at Impala. So I think it's more what will happen on the day itself. It's more who will be keen to win this. Fortunately, we'll be at home and we'll be trying to our damn best to win as well. We won the first game 31-14, lost the second game 25-13. And so it sets up a good background for the final, 1-1. And now let's see who will take the cup home.
And looking, of course, at Impala and Cabras, what kind of a game, what kind of a game plan, if I may say that, will Impala use against Cabras? Are we talking about that solid defense that Impala has been very good at?
No, I mean, certainly we'll come to defend. I mean, when you don't have the ball. But, I mean, for you to be a champion side, and Impala has won quite a few of this kind of playoff games. When I played in 4 playoffs, lost one, the first one in '99, and then won the next 3. So it's really a question of turning up when you have the ball and when you don't. So when you don't have the ball, you've got to play in a particular way, and when you have the ball, you play in a particular way. So it's an all-out thing. So you cannot say that we are going to just come and attack to win. There will be moments when you'll be called on to defend, like we did in second half of the semi-final.
And having been a player, of course, with Impala, now being a director of coaching, the Impala then and Impala now, any difference, any similarities? I
mean, the spirit of Impala has always been, it's basically the same type of thing. It's just a bit of guidance, that's all I give. A lot of them are passionate people. Some of them played just shortly after I joined. So I was involved in recruiting quite a few of them. And so the spirit is more or less the same. We like to play our rugby open. We're also beginning to enjoy playing our rugby tight and closed. We have a very, very good defense system. Now we also are a line outside. In our days, we were quite a poor line outside, but we still managed to win somehow. But yeah, so there's been growth. But the spirit of the club is quite interesting. Ron Andrews, who was in the first Kenya Cup, was there yesterday. He was a captain of Impala. They won for 5 years in a row. So, those 5 years and 4 in which I was involved and 1 that was won separately, basically give you the sort of environment that we have. And the spirit is practically the same. Yeah, so the team, it has taken a while to get its straps back, but by Jove, it's back.
And for many teams right now, of course, who didn't make it to the playoffs, who didn't make it to the semi-finals, and so on, are already focusing on the Enterprise Cup. They have already started training for the Enterprise Cup. Is Impala interested in the Enterprise Cup?
Whichever competition we enter into, we want to win. We are definitely interested in the Kenya Cup. I'm sorry, not Kenya, but the Enterprise Cup. It's one of the really, really prestigious cup. I mean, a cup that started in 1928. There's a lot of
looking at the break, it's a bit short.
Yeah, it isn't that short. I mean, we had a triple-double previously,
Yeah.
and I promise you the feeling was quite good. There will be a challenge, of course, with the test matches, but you see, I keep saying that 10,000 players leave school rugby every year, so really we cannot say that that will be an excuse. There's been a lot of intense competition between first team and second team players. Some academy players are even beginning to come through, the current academy players, into senior rugby. We will present a good side at Enterprise Cup.
And probably now, just moving on a bit from club rugby to the national team. The national 15s team, we've now seen the schedule has been released, a series of friendlies. The team has been in camp. What are your feelings and your thoughts and your expectations about the Kenya 15s in terms of a national team this year?
Well, I mean, there's 42 of the boys in the camp right now. Last year was fantastic. We had a couple of big wins. We played Portugal, we played Spain, and so on and so forth. So the Kenya 15s team is a team that's been developing, much like the 7th side, whose development path has been a little longer. But it's a developing side, and it's exciting to see just how it is growing from strength to strength. I think this year it will notch up or tick a few more boxes. And it will be quite a sight to watch. So quite interesting players in there. And every time that team goes out, you can't believe how much emotion it stirs within the rugby fraternity. And we always wish them all the best.
And do you think, the 7th team success, especially in Singapore, has awakened a hunger for the 15th team to also do even more and do even better? Do you think there's anything that has done to the 15th national team?
No, I mean, the energy that the 7th team has brought to the country as a whole, not only to rugby, but just generally to sport, is quite a bit. So there's no way of saying that the team won't feed off that energy, have a bit more confidence and things like that. We've trained with all these players throughout the year in our clubs, and we compete against them and so on and so forth. So I expect some of that energy to go through to 15s rugby, and it will be all the better for the game.
Okay. Thank you very much. Time is up completely, but thank you very, very, very much, and all the very best as you face Cabras in the final of the Kenya Cup.
Thank you, Lynn.
Of course, we are speaking Kenya Cup rugby, and